Have you ever felt like you were more of a teacher than a partner? Did you ever have to coach someone through loving you only to watch them give that love effortlessly to someone else later? Have you ever begged for effort while wondering why it wasn't something they just wanted to give? Do you feel like you've had to teach someone how to communicate, respect boundaries, or even just care? Have you realized that the way someone treats you is directly connected to the way that you treat yourself yet? If any of these questions strike a nerve or cause you to shake your head, this episode is for you. There's this kind of heartbreak that doesn't just come from a breakup. It comes from the exhaustion of realizing you've spent the entire relationship teaching someone, teaching how to show up, teaching how to listen, teaching how to be accountable. And at first, it feels normal, like you're doing the hard work everyone always talks about love being. But over time, you realize you weren't a girlfriend in this relationship. You were basically a syllabus. You weren't being loved, you were being studied. Or maybe a better word for it is used. I'm at a point in my life where I'm done being a Love 101 course. I've lived that story so many times to a point where my best friends and I joke about me being called Good Luck Kins. If you don't get the reference, check out Dane Cook movies. You'll find it. I don't want to teach another guy how to be emotionally aware. It's not my job. But yet, so many of us have done it and are probably doing it right now. Why? Is it because we believe that if we just explain ourselves clearly one more time, if we just give them enough examples, if we just keep holding on to that faith, that they will finally get it, get us, love us the right way? Oh my goodness. Welcome back to Chasing Stability, where we're navigating the in-between and learning all about love and how to not be someone's 101 course. I'm Mackenzie, and oh, how I wish someone would have hit me with this lesson early on in life, because it has been a really hard one for me to learn. But here it is. When love has to be taught like a remedial class, day after day, same lesson over and over and over again, your partner isn't failing because they don't understand. They're failing because they do not care enough to listen up and try. And the other hard part about this lesson is you're failing too, because you're not respecting yourself enough to realize that it's time to walk away. When we're young and navigating through our first love, it's nothing but learning, right? Everything is the first fight, the first love, the first I love you, the first time you wonder if you're the problem. You're both fumbling through emotions you've never had to manage before, trying to figure out what love actually means beyond the movies and what your parents did or didn't show you. And in that space, it's normal to be teaching each other. It's normal to say, hey, when you say it like that, it hurts me, or I need more reassurance than you think I do, multiple times than just one, because you're building the language of your relationship. You don't even have the vocabulary yet at all. The problem is somewhere along the way, we miss graduation from that stage. What's supposed to be Love 101, awkward and full of mistakes, but ultimately temporary, becomes the blueprint for every relationship after. And suddenly, you're not 16 anymore, but you're still explaining the basics of how to care to someone who really should already know. You shouldn't have to explain that communication matters, or that respect isn't optional, or that showing up for someone is more than just being in the same room. When you keep finding yourself reteaching the fundamentals, the very same ones you painfully learned years ago, it's exhausting. It's not love at that point. It's just a crash course on how to be a partner, and you're the dummy part. As much as you should be growing in each relationship from the beginning, in the middle, and the ending, you can't be the trial run either. There's a fine line here. Communicate your needs and wants, but you shouldn't have to do it 1,000 times for someone who cares. You're not the one to practice treating someone right with, so they can turn around and get it perfect with the next person. You understand? You want someone in Love 401, the advanced, the intentional, the ready, not coming to just waste your time or make you feel like you're going crazy repeating the same shit over and over again. And that's the part that stings the most, isn't it? You spend months, sometimes years, teaching someone how to treat you. Not in a bossy, my way or the highway kind of way, but in the please see me, please hear me, please love me better kind of way. You show them your love language. You spell out your boundaries. You have the hard conversations, sometimes through tears, sometimes through silence. And the whole time you think this is what relationships are supposed to be. We grow together. But are you growing together? Or are you just kind of pulling them along? You're holding the weight for the both of you, hoping they meet you eventually, having absolutely no idea if anything you're saying or asking for is even getting through. You're just praying that one day they'll start walking beside you instead of just taking everything from you. And then the worst happens. They leave, right? They go find someone else, leaving you thinking that you were the problem. Why is it they always leave saying the same dumb shit like, you ask for too much, or nothing I ever do is ever good enough? And then suddenly you're forced to watch them do all the things that you begged for that were apparently too much, with no reminders, no prompting, no fights. You're standing there listening to a friend fill you in or trying to comprehend what you are looking at on their social media like, oh, okay, so you could do it. You just didn't want to do it for me. And that realization can gut you in ways that heartbreak alone can never touch. Because no, it's not loss, right? It's proof. It's evidence. Proof that they understood everything you wanted the whole time. They just didn't care enough to do the work until someone else came along. Then the questions creep in. Was I always the placeholder for the next girl? Was my role only to prepare them for someone that they truly saw themselves with? And here's a truth that we will all have to sit with if we've never been in this situation. Maybe we were. But not because you or I wasn't enough, but because we were the one who set the standard. And that standard was too high for the version of them you got. They weren't ready for advanced love when they were with you. And you can hate that. You can grieve that. You can feel the unfairness of it in your bones. But you can also know this. Being the trial run for someone else doesn't mean you failed. It means you require a level of love they couldn't give you at that time. Because here's the thing no one tells you about that trial run feeling. It's not just a thought. It's a scene. A literal before and after picture burned into your brain. Before, you're sitting across from him, voice shaking, explaining for the 14th time why it matters that he shows up, why it matters that he helps out, why it matters that he chooses you without having to be convinced or reminded. Then the after. You see him doing all of that effortlessly for her. And it's not even just the big gestures, right? It's the little ones that make you want to scream into your pillow at night. He's posting her. He's talking about her like she's the best thing that's ever happened to him. The exact words you prayed to hear when you were in her shoes. And you sit there thinking, she got the man I was begging for. She got the version of him that I built from scratch, that I knew that he could be. The one I stayed up nights molding with patience I didn't even know I had. And the knife twist, you can't unsee it. Every photo, every post, every mutual friend update feels like a highlight reel of a man you wish you'd known. But you only got the unfinished draft. It messes with you because now you're questioning everything. Did he actually change? Was he always capable? Was it me? Was I just too much? Or was I never enough? And the part that makes your stomach drop, sometimes it's none of those things. Sometimes they just decided to become that person when they wanted to. And you can't force someone into readiness. You can love them, guide them, inspire them, but readiness is a decision they have to make for themselves. As much as it stings, no, as much as it burns like acid in your heart, that was the push you needed, but didn't know it. Because when you see someone give to someone else what you begged them to give you, you can't unsee the truth anymore. It's the truth that we all hear all the time. If they wanted to, they would. Some believe it, some don't, but either way you see it, if they're not doing it for you, it's not because you're unworthy. It's because they've made a choice. I think deep down, I kept hoping I could love most of these people I'm talking about into being ready. That if I held on long enough, reminded him enough, believed in him enough, one day it would click. But seeing them give to someone else so freely was like God leaning in and saying, you've done enough. It's time to stop. It hurt, but it also broke the spell. Because once you watch someone show they're capable, just not with you, it becomes impossible to keep telling yourself the story that they didn't know how, or they just needed time. Sometimes the most painful proof ends up being the most freeing proof. And yes, it's bittersweet because the life you imagined with them will never happen. But maybe that's exactly why you needed to watch him build with someone else. It was that push out of the waiting room that you didn't even realize you'd been sitting in. And when you walk out, that was the first time that you actually felt the air clear around you in quite some time. I guarantee it. When you finally walk out of that waiting room, when you finally stop holding your breath for them to change, you start to realize how heavy it's been to keep showing up for a relationship by yourself. At first, it's weird. You're so used to monitoring their moods, reading between the lines, planning your words so they sound just right. And suddenly, you have all this mental space. For a minute, you don't even know what to do with it. It's like when you've been holding your phone for like way too long in your hands and they start to ache, but you don't even notice until you finally put the phone down. The ache was there the whole time. You just got used to it. That's what I mean when I say you lose yourself every time you have to keep asking for the same thing. It's not just exhausting. It chips away at your confidence with like this little tiny silent hits from a hammer until you barely recognize the version of yourself who used to be sure of what she deserved and wanted. And this is where I struggled the hardest. They weren't going to hand me back the pieces of myself that I'd given away so freely in that relationship. That was my job, my responsibility. Maybe at first you struggle understanding what that means, so you just try to fill this void. But then one day you realize you're just asking to become another teacher. So what do? You start small. Say no to something you don't want to do without explaining or feeling like you owe them anything. Maybe you start taking longer to text back, not because you're playing games, but because you're actually doing something that you're not going to just drop for someone who hasn't proven they will do the same for you. Or maybe you stop changing your schedule to make shit work. Let them figure it out. You're the prize. It's the little things, but each one makes you feel like you're breathing a little deeper. Over time, those little acts of self-respect become the foundation of something bigger. The ringer that you are not a teacher for the next girl any longer. Not a trial. The right person will not make you beg for what you're already ready to give. Can I get a amen? I know it doesn't feel like protection when you're in that moment. I mean, truthfully, all I've ever felt first off in these situations is rejection or betrayal, like the rug's been pulled out from under me and you have no warning. But there were warnings the whole time. And I bet if you're honest with yourself, you already know that that's true as well. Little messages from God that this wasn't the one, the pit in your stomach kind of feeling, the way you started getting sick all the time from all the stress that you were going through, the way you started crying over things that you used to just be able to brush off, the prayers that you prayed that sounded more like you begging for someone to be changed. And if you ignored these signs, don't ever feel like you're sitting at the table alone. We've all done that at some point. I look back now and realize that every unanswered prayer, every breakup I thought I'd never recover from was just him getting me out of the wrong room before I lost more of myself. And I know even when you know this, when you're in that heartbreak, it's still hard to believe. I'm living it right now. I know it was right and I know it wasn't going to work. That doesn't make the pain less painful right now. But if God had given me what I thought I wanted from this past relationship, it would have destroyed me. It honestly already had. I was just ignoring it and trying to defend the whole situation that it was actually a relationship that worked. Sometimes we get too busy asking God to fix a relationship that we forget to ask if it's even the one he wants us to be in the first place. And when he takes it away, it's not punishment, it's protection. You know, recently I've been struggling a lot with my past breakup. It's been hard because this person was also my best friend. But every day I try to step closer to God to see it through his eyes. And I'm starting to believe that heartbreak on this level is one of God's loudest forms of mercy. Because when the wrong person walks out and leaves you feeling empty, it creates the space for the right one to enter. And when the wrong love ends, it clears the path for you to see yourself. See yourself the way God has been seeing you the whole time. Perfect, just the way you are. No more, no less. So a lot of the times when the relationship ends, you feel abandoned, but no, God didn't abandon you. He met you where your heart was broken. Maybe your living room couch, your bathroom floor, or maybe on your front porch. And from there, he led you out. You just didn't feel his helping hand right away from all of the outside pain you were entertaining. Being in a relationship is like holding a mirror you didn't even know you owned. And the thing about mirrors is they don't just reflect the other person, they reflect us too. That's the part nobody warned you about. You think you're just learning them, but in reality, you're getting a front row seat to all the ways you've been showing up for yourself or not showing up at all. You start to realize how you treat yourself. When I look back, I can see that the men I was with were almost always a direct reflection of what I thought I deserved at that time. If I didn't value my voice, I ended up with someone who didn't listen. If I didn't trust myself, I ended up with someone I was constantly second guessing. If I believed love was something you had to fight for, I found myself fighting every single day just to keep the relationship alive. And here's the hardest truth that I had to swallow. Sometimes they're not treating you badly because they're evil. They're treating you that way because you showed them it was acceptable. Yikes. That realization changed everything for me because now it's not about them anymore. It's about you. It's about asking yourself, where in my life have I been setting the bar too low? The partner you choose is often a mirror for your self-worth. And the longer you stay, the more that reflection starts to feel normal, even if it's the ugliest thing you've ever seen. So, if you want someone to respect you, you have to show them what that looks like by respecting yourself first. If you want someone to love you well, you have to love yourself enough not to accept anything less, because you can't change the reflection by smashing the glass. You have to change what's standing in front of it. You got to start with the person in the mirror. And while you're looking in the mirror and focusing on the things that are being reflected back at you, that's when I believe the pain gets a little heavier. Pain is never like someone nice walking into your space. It's like that drunk, belligerent friend that barges into your house and flips on the light and is just like laying out all this truth about you completely out of nowhere. But somehow it's the stuff that you have been trying to like avoid. At the time, you're like, dude, I don't know what you're doing. I don't want to hear this right now. But being forced to feel it is usually the better way to go, right? Like that Band-Aid ripping off. Honestly, I used to hate dealing with my pain. I can be the first to admit that. I used to smoke my stress away every second of every day and then try to tell myself that I just enjoyed getting high. Okay. But the truth was, I just didn't want to face my shit. I wanted love to be soft, the lessons to be gentle, and growth to be optional or easy or just what kind of like happens. But news flash. Pain does not care about your preferences, not even a little bit. Relationship pain has a lesson for you, and you're going to learn it whether you signed up for it or not. You're going to feel it and be forced to learn why this breakup is hurting you so much. Like, why am I okay with begging for bare minimum? Or when did I start believing my needs were too much? Or even, why does being alone scare me more than being treated poorly? When I look back, some of the hardest heartbreaks of my life were also the clearest mirrors of what I needed to work on within myself. They exposed my patterns, my insecurities, and my blind loyalty to people who had no business holding my heart. And I know it's so tempting to run from pain. We numb it, we distract ourselves, we pretend it's not there. But the longer you avoid it, the longer it teaches the same lesson over and over on repeat. I mean, honestly, how many times have you lived out the same situation with different relationships? You have to figure out the lesson you're supposed to be learning from that pain. Maybe it's learning to walk away sooner or set boundaries you've been avoiding out of fear that they'll leave. Or maybe it's finally understanding that you aren't going to put up with being the one who teaches someone how to love. Pain can be the most honest, most relentless, and most transformative teacher you'll ever have. But you've got to accept that there's something there from you to learn from first. Then there's the other side of this constantly teaching someone how to love you. You start to realize there's a cost. At first, you tell yourself it's just part of the process, right? But over time, it starts chipping away at you, like I mentioned earlier. It's not just tiring, it's exhausting in a way that seeps into how you see yourself, but honestly, really how you start to see them and how you start to treat them because of it. Every time you repeat yourself, every time you have to explain why your feelings matter, every time you have to point out something that should be obvious, you're not just communicating anymore, right? You start feeling like you're talking to a wall, and it gets annoying fast. If you're anything like me, eventually you won't want to teach them anymore and you'll start to shut down completely. Not because you don't love them anymore, but because you're exhausted from having to constantly earn what should be free. Teaching someone how to love you when they don't have the desire to learn or remember the things you talk about, it's not building a relationship at that point. That's slowly just building resentment inside yourself. And resentment is the quickest way to kill any connection. Right, wrong, I don't care. It will kill it. And right about the time you start noticing this is when they finally start getting it and start trying a little harder. But the ironic part here is you're already halfway out the door, and that resentment just keeps coming in about everything you had to fight for to receive it now. The resentment's already been created. When you reach this point where you're not blinded by the fact that you just love this person and want to do anything to make it work, you start to see the people who already do make it work. And that can be in another romantic partnership, yes, but it also sometimes is in your best friends or your family. Either way, this truth starts to surface. Love isn't supposed to feel like an unpaid internship where you spend years training someone for a position you wanted them to fill the minute that you met them. I believe that when you find the right person, you don't have to hand them an instruction manual, right? You don't have to give performance reviews about how they should take your feelings into consideration. They will want to love you well. They will want to pay attention. And not because they're perfect or they're not going to need your help to understand you somewhere along the way, or because they can like read your mind or your energy or whatever. It's because they care enough to learn without being begged or nagged or bitched at. And maybe that's the blessing that comes after all the pain and all the resentment. You start moving closer to the hands that were meant to be holding you all along. Hands that hold you without needing to be convinced that you're worth holding. To me, it's funny how God will sometimes clear the room of the people you are chasing after to just grip onto, only to make space for the ones He actually sent for you. And yes, that includes the friends that show up with ice cream on a Tuesday, or the mom who answers the phone even when she's in the middle of her own mess. That's love. That's the stuff that feels safe. And when you finally let yourself lean into that, you realize it's not love that's hard. It's loving the wrong person that completely drains you. After you have all the experience to look back on, it's easy to see when maybe you had it right, but took it for granted. When you never once had to tell them to text you when they got home or ask them to remember something that you said last week. They just did it. It wasn't about perfection, because I think that's sometimes what people think others are like looking for, but it's not. It's about the fact that they didn't have to be reminded to have basic thoughtfulness. These things aren't hard. And I believe that if you're truly in love with someone, they show up naturally. Why? Because you both want the same thing for each other: the love, the care, the feeling of truly being seen by someone that you love. So if you're having to beg for it from the beginning, for me, at this point in my life, I feel like that's a huge red flag. And maybe that's the point. Love shouldn't feel like pulling teeth. The right person won't make you all have to have the same fight over and over again. They'll just learn from the first discussion about it. You won't even have to be fighting about it. It'll be a discussion, and that'll be it. They have the desire to want to learn and make it work. And when you've both shown up ready to grow in a healthy relationship, you don't spend the majority of your time teaching, fighting, and begging. You spend it building and enjoying each other. So if you're listening to this and realizing you've been stuck in a love 101 with someone who just keeps not getting it, please take this as your sign. You're not hard to love. You're just not meant to be a starter course for someone who isn't ready to be in love. Let them go. Let them find less. If that's what they want to do, let them go figure it out. And you go find the person who already speaks your language, the one who doesn't just say they love you, the one that shows you every single day in little ways without having to be reminded. Because love isn't a lesson plan. It's a choice. It's a rhythm. It's two people who actually want to get it right for each other. So I'm going to leave you with this. Once you've experienced a person who loves you this way, or maybe once you just realize that's what you want because you've seen someone you know experience it, you will never waste another second trying to convince someone to hold you the right way for you. And that's a fact. I hope you all enjoyed today's episode and feel confident in knowing that love for you does exist and you will find it. You've just got to be good to yourself so the right person will step up to love you the right way too. If you aren't already following, click the button and then drop a comment about your favorite thing about today's episode. I love you all so much. I am so grateful for all of you that listen and are learning to love yourself again. It's always nice to have someone walking with you through the journey. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your week. This is Chasing Stability, and I will meet you in the in-between next Tuesday.